Today we are going to start our next chapter, human health and disease, and this is the first part of it. Now coming to the first part, that is health. So how can health be defined? It's not just the absence of a disease, but also as a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. And health can be affected by three things. First is the genetic disorders. That means deficiencies with which a child is born, like you can have chromosomal aberrations, number of chromosomes can be more or less, due to which there can be many genetic disorders, which you will be reading in the chapter Principle of Inheritance. Or if the parent has some genetic disorder, that can be passed to the child. Next, condition by which the health will be affected will by infections which that individual can acquire during their lifetime. And the third factor will be the lifestyle. That will include food and water, proper intake of food, balanced diet and water, how much rest that individual takes or exercise he does. Like if he doesn't exercise, it can result in obesity, and that can lead to disorders. Habits that they have, like chewing of pan or gudka or other, can also lead to cancers and other things. So what are the three main factors to maintain good health? Will be having a proper balanced diet, maintenance of personal hygiene, and of course regular exercise to keep oneself fit and healthy. Next will be disease. So how can you define disease? When the functioning of one or more organs or organ system of the body is adversely affected. How do we know that? Because then we will be showing certain signs and symptoms. So sometimes you have the parasite in an individual, but he doesn't know he has the parasite until the signs and symptoms become visible. So diseases can be broadly grouped into two main groups. One you can say as the infectious diseases or communicable diseases. Infectious diseases which are easily transmitted from one person to another, like very common example that you have heard of, AIDS. Next category will be non-infectious diseases or non-communicable diseases which are not transmitted from one person to another. For example, will be cancer. Now this part we'll be discussing will be certain common infectious disease that is included in your NCERT syllabus. So there is a wide range of organisms belonging to the groups of bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, helminths, etc., which can cause disease in man. And you have one example from each in this chapter. And such disease causing organism, what do we call them as? Pathogens or parasites. And these pathogens, obviously, because they need a host, they are going to cause harm to the host by living inside that host. That means we call them as endoparasite, or on them, like on the surface of the host, that we call them as ectoparasite. And these pathogens, how do they enter the host? They have a specific point of entry, either through the skin or through the nose or through the mouth. And after entering the body, the pathogens will multiply inside the host, obtain nourishment for their survival, and for this they have several adaptations. Adaptations to escape the acidity of the stomach, adaptations to feed on the host, inside the host cells. Now as a result, when they enter the host, they interfere with normal vital activities, and as a result they are going to cause damage to the host, which will include morphological and functional damage. Now coming to the first part, that is the viral diseases. So in viral disease, you just one example, that is a common cold or rhinitis, which are all familiar with, and this is caused by more than 100 types of viruses which we call as rhinoviruses. And these viruses infect the nasal and the upper respiratory tract, but causing inflammations of these parts, but not the lungs. And the symptoms of the common cold, you are aware of it. nasal congestion, that is blockage of the nose and discharge, sore throat, cough, headache, sneezing, hoarseness, that means the voice will become hoarse, and of course because of this thing, tiredness, you'll feel tired of it. And this, because it's a viral disease, so it lasts for 3 to 7 days, then it's all over. And the common way that it spreads will be the droplets that are released during coughing and sneezing by an infected persons, or through contaminated objects such as pens, books, cups, doorknobs, etc. Now this was about the viral disease. Next will be bacterial disease. So first bacterial disease is typhoid, which is also called as the enteric fever. That means enteric will be intestine, fever of the intestine, and it's caused by the pathogenic bacterium Salmonella typhi. How is the infection spread? By eating contaminated food and water, or through close contact with an infected person. So when the pathogen enters our body, it will enter the epithelial cells of the small intestine. Then it is going to invade the Pierce patches and enter the lymphatic system, from where they are going to go to the general circulation, and they can spread to other organs if they are not treated. Now what are the symptoms of typhoid? The symptoms of typhoid will be sustained high fever for several days, and of course if they enter the intestine, so a person will be having abdominal pain. So either constipation or sometimes diarrhea can occur, and because of this there will be loss of appetite, weakness and headache. And in about 30% of the cases, a rose color, that means a red colored rash, will appear on the chest and the abdomen. And because they are going to perforate the intestine, so they can lead to the death of the individual also, but that will be occurring in severe cases. Now how can one confirm whether it's typhoid or not? It can be confirmed by a viral test. It's a serological test in which the antigen from the Salmonella typhi are taken, and the serum from the patient is mixed with these antigen of the Salmonella typhi. So if the serum contains antibodies, it will bind to the antigen of the Salmonella typhi, and there will be clumping or agglutination. When seen under the microscope, if the clumping has occurred, then it can be confirmed that it is typhoid, and this test is called as the Widal test. So you just have to remember how typhoid can be confirmed. It can be confirmed by the Widal test. How Widal test is done, it's not needed. But sometimes what happens that some people get cured of this typhoid, but they continue to have the bacteria for many years and without showing any symptoms. That means they act as carriers. So we have one classical example of such a person, that is of Mary Mallon. She was nicknamed as Typhoid Mary. Why? Because she was a cook by profession and was a typhoid carrier. So she spread typhoid for several years through the food she prepared. Next bacterial disease is pneumonia, and this is caused by the bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenza, and they infect will be the alveoli of the lungs, and they cause their inflammation, due to which the alveoli becomes filled with fluid, causing severe difficulty in breathing. And the symptoms will include fever. Because of the fever there will be chills, headache, person will be coughing, but that cough will contain, the sputum will contain mucus, so it will be a mucoid sputum. Because the lungs are infected, there will be fast breathing and shortness of breath. There can be a chest pain, fast heart rate, and in severe cases, because the lungs are infected, so exchange of gases will be affected, so the nails and lip may turn grayish and bluish in color from poorly oxygenated blood. So that's all for today. Thank you. And in next presentation, I'll be discussing again, will be other pathogens causing diseases in humans. That's all for today.